Elliot Norton Reviews. Mr. Norton's guests today are from the company of the Peking Opera, now at the Schubert Theater. Zhao Yanxia, a performer with the troupe, Gerald Wen, company liaison, and Sheldon Gold, producer.
Good evening. At the Schubert Theater, the Peking Opera from mainland China is putting on a unique and extraordinary entertainment which combines mime, spectacle, and the most astonishing comic acrobatics in a dazzling and altogether delightful entertainment. Although there is a certain amount of singing and music with an onstage orchestra, there's nothing operatic in our sense of the word in this production, which is presented in 3 swift single acts. It's my understanding that Peking Opera is actually a form of entertainment, which many companies have played in China over a long period of time. Sheldon Gold, who's the producer, brought the company here from China, would know. Mr. Gold, does more than one company play Peking Opera, this kind of thing? Is it a type of entertainment?
Oh, yes. Peking Opera is a generic name.
Yes.
And there are companies in Shanghai and there are companies in Tianjin. And actually the Peking Opera Theater, which is the performing arts group that is at the Schubert these next 2 weeks, it has 4 units alone in Peking, constantly on.
So you just brought 1 unit, huh?
Well, what we did was we combined the best of the Peking Opera Theater and brought Peking Opera #1 with visiting artists from other elements, other troupes.
Oh, I see. Now, how many has Madame Zhao been with the company a long time?
您在这个剧团内是不是很久，很长时间了？
很长时间了，将近20年了。
Nearly 20 years.
Nearly 20 years. Now, she wasn't allowed to act during the Cultural Revolution, is that correct? None of them were.
她是在这个文化革命时候是不能表演的。
那是不能表演的。
You're right.
And is it correct that she was forced, and some of the other performers were forced to work in the fields during that time?
但是不是听说那个时期还在农场里做工来被逼的？
在干校盖房当小工，和泥了什么的。
And she also part of time was doing masonry work.
Masonry work,
Masonry work, yeah.
And had she grown up as an actress with the company before?
她是不是从小就是训练这个做表演事情？
我们3代都是演员，父亲也演员，爷爷演员，从8岁就学习。
She's grown up from a theatrical family. For 3 generations, they're all performers.
Yeah.
And she started her career training at age of 8.
And do most of them work in theatrical families? Most of these entertainers,
是
like
不是所有
Madame
演员大部分都是在戏剧家庭里出来的？
大部分都是。
A majority of them, yes.
Did you pick them out, Mr. Gold, yourself when you went? Did you go there and take a look and pick out the ones you liked, or did they tell you which ones should come?
For the program?
For the program you brought to the United States.
No, this was a product of about 4 weeks of intensive performance and a lot of back and forth between the artistic elements of the Peking Opera Theater and myself.
Yeah. Did you have to talk to the government people, too? This is a government control. The government of China subsidizes this company, isn't that correct?
That's true.
Yeah. There aren't any commercial acting companies.
No.
Yeah.
But actually, there's a variance, and it's a little too subtle for me, but the new political structure in China more or less makes each unit semi-autonomous and makes them responsible financially and artistically for themselves. They are self-governing to some degree.
In other words, they could make a decision, we will go with you to America?
Yes, providing the financial arrangements were made properly through government sources.
I see.
And the mechanics of that was set up when Walter Mondale went and signed a cultural exchange agreement with, I think it was Vice Premier Deng Xiaoping.
Yeah.
And then it enabled us to come in and negotiate with the commercial arm of the Chinese Performing Arts, which is the China Performing Arts Agency.
I see. And are they likely to allow you to bring in more companies like this?
Oh, yes.
Are they anxious to bring in companies?
Yes, they're very anxious for a very broad cultural exchange with the United States.
Good. Madam Zhao, how about the audiences here? After each one of the scenes the opening night, your company came forward and applauded the audience, and the audience applauded back. But I got the feeling that your entertainers were having a good time. We're enjoying our audience. Is that right?
您这个觉得美国观众的反应怎么样？他来看戏的时候，看见每次这个一出完了以后，大家观众向你们鼓掌，你们演员向观众也鼓掌，是不是你们演员也对这观众十分欣赏？
我们是十分欣赏的，因为我们演到什么地方啊，他们都是有反应的，是有效果的，是鼓掌的。在中国这种情况啊，到美国完全有的。中国鼓掌的情况真的。
They are appreciative of the reaction they receive from the audience, and it's almost no different from the audience reaction in China.
There isn't any difference. As the audience in China then in Peking when they play would be equally have an equally good time?
是不是观众也是一样热烈的在北京的话？
一样热烈。
Yes.
Oh, you saw them in Peking. Then the audience there, you saw them working with the Chinese audience.
They're kind of marvelous. It's a family entertainment there, as I think people that have come to see them here will realize. It's a wonderfully accessible art form, and they come in as you would come into a film, as into a theater, and they bring the entire families, and they're very involved in what goes on the stage.
Well, are they familiar with this? For example, the jade bracelet, the scene that I like so much.
Yeah.
In which she plays the young lover who has a jade bracelet left with her and can't quite bring herself to take it, which is a charming thing. Now, I think you told me before that was an old...
That's one of the classics of Peking opera.
Yeah. How long would that have been done, do you suppose? For 100 years or more?
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah. Did she play that? Ask Madame Zhao, please, if she's played the jade bracelet for a long time.
他问您这个石玉琢演过多久了？您个人。
这是我们的开蒙戏，一小就学，学了就经常的演出。
That is almost one of the first ones that she learned. So she had been playing that since she was very, very young.
And does she do it any different here than in China, or is this the same
她
performance?
表演的这个程序在这儿是不是跟国内一样？就拿石玉琢来说的话，
不太一样，掐了很多东西，因为过长。这个戏我演的，国内演是将近1个小时。
If this were played in China, it would last at least 1 hour long.
Oh, well, did you do the cutting, Sheldon?
We did some of the cutting.
Oh, yeah, in order to get it to run more to American tastes, huh?
Well, no. What we tried to do really was to give an evening, knowing that the American public was seeing a Peking opera for the first time. We were trying to get as much of a variety into a given evening as possible, to get at least a sampling of various forms of Peking opera.
I might inject here is that if a play can be longer singing part, and that would give a handicap to the non-Chinese speaking American audience.
What about the working to the audience? Now, Madame Zhao in that is with mime, with facial expressions, indicating to the audience that she's playing a kind of game. She seems to be addressing a good deal to the audience. And so does the fellow who plays the Monkey King, who, by the way, I think is just wonderful. They are playing a game with the audience as well as with one another, smiling at the audience. Is that customary? Is that part of it? Do they take the audience in?
我看出一点来，就是这个演戏的时候，看见你常常对观众表情、对观众说话，像那个上次演石玉琢就这样，像这个孙猴子也是这样，好像 他也在对着观众说话。这个在这个中国这个京戏里是不是很普通的？
这是很普通的，跟观众要交流的。有些个剧情啊、表演要跟观众交代清楚的。
This is a common practice in Chinese theatrical performance that you have to relate to the audience.
It's one of the things that helps us to understand. Now, there is a little bit of language barrier in her jade bracelet, but it's only brief. And in the meantime, she's working to us, with us, letting us in, seems to be letting us in on the joke. And the Monkey King does the same thing. And that, but you say this is traditional. This is part of the show, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Now, some of the mime that she does, the pantomime, for example, in the beginning, this is Jade Princess, the daughter of the sun. Is that correct? She's the daughter of the sun.
Yes, daughter of the sun. She's the family raises chicken for a living.
She raises chickens, so she's doing all kinds of pantomime. She's calling the chickens. One little thing she did that impressed me. She had the grain in an imaginary apron here, and she was feeding the grain to the chickens. And one of them got in the way, or somehow the grain, the imaginary grain, hit her in the eyes, and she brushed it away. Is that traditional? Does she do that all the time?
他说这个您在表演的时候不是您在喂鸡吗？喂鸡这么一打的时候，不是那个一个渣子到眼睛里是吧？他说这个是不是每次演都有这
都有学的时候就有。
Yeah, this is a part of the act, and it's standard.
Oh, it's always you always do that. Did it take a long time to learn how to do that kind of pantomime?
他说这哑剧了，就是不说话的表演，是不是常常做的？差不多戏里都有这种。
有哑剧的戏里有这种东西，这是石玉镯比较多一些这种。
Only in certain operas they have, and of course in Jade Bracelets is particularly strong on pantomiming.
Yeah. Is that one of the reasons that you liked it when you were there in China, that you wanted to pick it because of the fact that it does? This is a way of overriding any language barrier because you've got the pantomime.
That is one of the reasons. The other reason is that it's one of the great classics of Peking opera. And I suppose if you brought a ballet company for the first time, you'd bring something from Swan Lake.
Yeah.
And you bring, at least the theory was that you bring some of the most important things that exist in the literature.
Yeah, but you do have to cut down. You say you did cut down. I mean, you don't cut out this business with the chickens. You don't cut out that one little gesture which impressed me because of the fact I could see the grain flying. And I wonder whether or not she was inventing that at the time or whether or not she did it all the time. You say she does it. And the Monkey King also. He addresses himself to the audience, and that's one of the great assets of the show, too. All the way through, the Monkey King is playing jokes on the Lohans, but he's invited the audience into the show, hasn't he? He's saying, in effect, to the audience, look, I'm playing tricks on these people. I can cope with these people anytime. How long would he have to work, the actor who plays the Monkey King, in order to be able to do all those things? He has to work in that like a ballet. It's choreographed, isn't it?
No question. He started, as Madame Zhao, he started at the age of 8, and I think made his first appearance on the stage, he told me, at the age of 12. Oh. Now, when he started playing Monkey Kings, I don't know. But the Monkey King himself is one of the great traditional folk figures in Chinese literature and opera, in puppet theater, and in every form.
Oh, yes. So he would move into that particular part perhaps as an apprentice in the beginning?
Yes.
In order to learn it? And then after a while he learns how to do it?
And learns from a master.
Oh, there would be a preceding actor who had played that.
That's right.
I see.
There are occasions when Madame Zhao does not perform in the Jade Bracelet, but has one of the other members of the company. But if you were to walk into the wings, you would find her sitting right in the wings, watching every gesture and watching everything.
Madame Zhao, yes. In order to be able to make sure that the girl is doing it properly?
Exactly right.
Yeah. And following all the traditions? Losing all the grain in the face, all that?
Not all the grain, just one.
Well, I think it's remarkable. How about the men who are doing that spectacular the attack on the mountain. What's the name of the mountain?
Yangdang Mountain.
Yandang Mountain.
Yangdang Mountain. Now that's carefully choreographed, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Every move has to be choreographed.
And it has to, or else we'd have probably one of the biggest pileups since
And a lot of,
one of the last New England Patriots scrambles, I think.
yeah. Well, it occurred to me that all those men have to be not only actors and mimes, they have to be also acrobats. Now, are they carefully selected? You don't train anybody. I mean, you can take people at the age of 8. Some of us, for example, at the age of 8, if we tried to learn that kind of acrobatics, we still would be trying now and never be able to do it. You have to find experts, don't you?
Yes and no, because they have the carefully selected, yes. But as far as training, every one of the actors start with acrobatic training. You know, Madam Chow received the training, Monkey received the training. Their basic training, physical training is the same.
In a school
In a
attached
school,
to the
yes.
theater?
Yeah.
How are they recruited? How do you decide which ones? Do people come in from the peasant families and say, I want to enroll my son and daughter in the Peking Opera?
Well, that's one of the sources, and as Madame Zhao described, there is a kind of a family relationship. There is a tradition in many areas. And I think there's another resource that they come out of some of the schools into it. But it is it's a lifetime profession. It's something that begins at a very early age and carries through as they graduate and get older into different kinds of parts. They never phase out of this. They remain in it in one form or another.
And what about the other companies? Is this the best company, Peking Opera, of the companies that do this kind of work? Are there others in other cities? Is there more? Or did you say there was more than one in Peking, for example?
They're all Peking Opera Theater, but there are 4 arms of it, and they're all under the management of one direct company. There are Peking Opera Theaters in other cities. The one that played in Paris recently was from Yunnan. There was one in London that was from Shanghai. I have seen one, and there's one in South America now from Tianjin, and there are in other parts of the country. Obviously, we think we've started with the prime company and the premier company of China.
Yeah.
And they had one interesting thing that they did in preparation for the American tour, was that they took the company out of residence in Peking and brought them out into a training camp and did nothing but prepare the programs that we brought to the United States, then brought them in for, what was it, I think 8 performances in Peking, and went immediately to the United States. They did a whole basic training prior to this tour.
Was that, would you ask Madame Zhao, was that helpful to the company? Did it freshen up their skills or their techniques going to that training camp?
他说：“您不是出国以前，这个团里头在外头，受过训练，同时在美国，在出国以前还表演了几场。那这个东西对于外国演出是不是有好处？”
有好处，有很大的好处，因为起码来说，奇迹一些武功啊，要多走走，双方的合作的默契更什么一些，更好一些。
It was very beneficial. I think it's practically eliminated the necessity of dress rehearsing after arrival, which.
Do they know the other people and some of the other troops? Do all the Peking Opera people that do the Peking Opera kind of thing, do they fraternize with one another?
Yes, there's a great deal of fraternization between companies. They all know each other. But particularly those well-known figures.
Do they move from one company to another, perhaps?
Not
they
as
stay
mobile,
with the one.
Not as mobile as in outside countries. In China, you know, since all the industries are owned by the government, there's much less mobility as in America.
Yeah. Is the Peking Opera being restored? I mean, are there many more companies now? All Peking Opera, all theater was held off in China during Chairman Mao's time. Isn't that correct? Or except the only things they did, as I understand it, is propaganda plays. Is that correct? And lots of them were forced out of the theater. Like Madame Zhao were forced out of the theater, weren't they, during that so-called Cultural Revolution? Mm-hmm. Now, are they all coming back? Is there a new multiplicity of companies coming back?
You find what I found was a total restoration of what had existed before.
Right away it came back?
Oh, yes. The Lohans that we keep talking about, it's been done now in the United States actually more than it's been done in China.
Oh, really?
And it was restored for this tour.
Yeah.
And one of the first times I saw Madame Zhao perform in Peking, she did the opera called The Goddess of the Green Ripples, which was then just brought back, revived after a period of, I don't know what, 10 or 12 years. Oh. And they were totally in the process of restoring this. Mm-hmm. And it's not only a restoration process, you have the feeling that once they have restored and brought back those things that they want to into this great repertoire that they have, that they're going to bring in new pieces. It's a very active and it's an alive art form that they have.
In other words, the whole Chinese theater sprang into new life?
Oh, yes.
Once the Cultural Revolution was over. May we talk a little bit political? Are some of these people likely to be called in the trials now that Madame Jing Chang is going to be put on trial? Do we know about that? Are there going to be public trials?
For what? For the...
For Madame Mao's wife, Jing Chang, was an actress. She's the one that cut down all Chinese performances. They kept the kind of thing that she wanted and sent people into exile, like Madame Zhao. Yes. Do we know anything about that?
Well, I think as actors and actresses, they're not active in political field, and so they will be affected by whatever the government policy
will be. Well, they were affected, like she had to go out into the fields.
Favorably or unfavorably. But Mrs. Mao was, being prosecuted not because she was an actor, was because as a politician, not because of her policy.
Yes, I know, but she is going to go on trial.
Yeah.
She's going on trial with that so-called Gang of Four, and one of the things she did was monopolize the theater in China. That I know. That's why these people went out. She was raising rice instead of working on the stage, and I just wondered whether or not they would have the kind of public trial that would bring some of these people in and say, I was sent out to the fields when I should have been acting on the stage. You don't know about that.
I don't know. We can only read what's in the press, but I'm sure there will be witnesses.
There will be witnesses in court, do you think?
Yes.
Do we know if the trials? Do you know anything about that, Sheldon?
Not a thing. We've seen in the paper that there is talk that something is imminent, but I'd seriously doubt that it would affect the actors of this company or many of the other companies. Mm. I had the occasion to meet one of the conductors of one of the symphony orchestras there, who worked as a photographer for 5 years.
He was kind of lucky.
He was only allowed to conduct 3 pieces, and he said there was no sense in continuing in that. Yeah. I think their basic job now, all of the performing artists, is to get everything back in working order and in functioning order, because there was a great danger that a lot of this might have been lost had it continued as it was for many years.
Was she allowed to act at all privately, Madame Zhao, during the time of the Cultural Revolution, or did she have to work out in the fields entirely?
他问您这个在文化革命的时候，能不能私人的表演，就是说这个不能公共表演的公家的这个什么，是不是有机会做私人的表演？
不行。
Not at all.
Not at all.
They had to stay away from the stage altogether. What about the other side of this this exchange now? You brought these people here. I understand one producer is planning to bring Oklahoma. That's Buffman. He's planning to bring a company of Oklahoma. Will they accept American musicals, American attractions there?
Well, they have. I think Boston has probably played as an important a part as anybody in the American side of the cultural exchange.
Well, you mean
Boston
the
Symphony having gone, the Boston Ballet having gone. I've seen in people that I represent that Isaac Stern was there and not only performed but went to visit the young string players. Baryshnikov went as part of the Bob Hope special that took place from there, but at the same time did master classes with the ballet companies. And most recently, Roberta Peters went for a tour and was the first Western singer that they've heard there in about 30 years. And in the course of travels back and forth, I've seen that companies have come from various parts of the world. I know that the Stuttgart Ballet was there at one moment. Berlin Philharmonic, I think, went. So that they're getting an active exchange of groups from all over the world.
Yeah, but that's ballet and music. These, there's no language barrier. It occurred to me that my thought would be that Oklahoma would be that they would welcome Oklahoma with open arms, that there's something about the youthful spirit and the dancing. They would, I would think they would love the dancing.
Oh, I think they'd react to it very well.
Do you know anything about any American? No American musical has played there yet.
Not that I know of.
Never. Have they?
是不是
American
美
musical?
国的歌剧最近在中国演过没有？就是比较现代的歌剧。
因为我不在北京那阵儿，
现在就是最近。
最近咱不出来好几
不
个月了。
是，就是说这1-2年里头。
这1-2年里的歌剧啊，好像是演过的。
She had the impression that some has been played there.
Have they seen any? Has Mr. Gold let them go to the theater in New York and places like that to enjoy American shows?
Well, unfortunately, that they are performing practically every evening, and so they're deprived of the opportunity to.
Oh, I see. He wouldn't let them out, huh?
We've no, Their Honor. We've tried to do as much sightseeing, and I think the closest they got to anything of that nature was probably the Universal Studios tour in Los Angeles, but they're performing the same night that everybody else is on.
What about Disneyland? Did you let them go to Disneyland?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
They like that?
但是您对这个迪士尼乐园喜不喜欢？迪士尼乐园在洛杉矶，
挺喜欢的。
She liked it very much.
Is she impressed with the American audiences? I was very much impressed, you know, Tuesday night, by the openness of the Boston audience. Of course, we have the most discriminating audiences, as you know, Mr. Gold, in the world.
There's no question about it.
But they also are friendly, and the friendliness of that audience made me feel good. And I wonder whether or not that came through, or have they found that all the way along the line? Have all American cities responded with that same kind of affection for them?
Yes.
Yes.
I think the astonishing thing is, and the thing that you don't know until you actually get into the theater, is the fact that it's an entertainment that is accessible. It's not something that is distant and remote, and you look at it and you say, yes, I've had a wonderful experience. It's a lot of fun. And the public, I think, gets caught up in it, as you yourself described.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they're just kind of relating totally to them, and you see the reaction from the stage.
Well, I felt that, but I wondered whether or not that was exceptional here because we are an exceptional audience, or whether it was not just a receptivity. There was a kind of reaching out on both sides.
Yes. Oh, yes.
A kind of a feeling of friendliness. That made me feel good.
Yes.
That there was. After all, the Monkey King reached out to us and was friendly and said, look, I'm playing a big joke you're all in, and everybody moved on that right away. Anyway, it's a great show. Everybody should read their programs, by the way, when they go. Read the little synopses. It's a great show for anybody, and particularly children. Thank you all very much. Madam Zhao, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how to say thank you in Chinese.
Shay, it's very easy.
You have just heard Elliot Norton in conversation with Zhao Zhenjie, Gerald Wen, and Sheldon Gold from the company of the Peking Opera, now performing at the Schubert Theater. Mr. Norton is drama critic of the Boston Herald-American and appears at the courtesy of the newspaper. Mr. Norton is also a professor of dramatic literature at Boston University.